Today's topic is the continuation of the other video. What was the name of it?
Basically, this is my rebuttal to the discussion that we had yesterday. I know we had words yesterday, but this is my rebuttal to basically everything that was on this video. And let me give you a little background about myself. I was raised in my mother was baptized Catholic. She married a man whose background was Christian. And based on that, everybody's like, okay, well, I have this on, Islam, my sisters and brothers. I decided that as people say, the religion that was closest to mine, because I'm not in it for the religion, I'm in it to know who I am, my background, and my nationality, is the Muslim, the Moors, more than the Muslims, because I do not back Farrakhan at all, because the people that I've met, the young people I grew up with, the people I met as adults that are with Farrakhan, they preach kind of like hate. I don't hate anybody. I will give you, your chance, and when you burn your bridges with me, I cut you off. I don't hate you. I don't have to deal with you. So basically, that's what I choose to be a more Muslim, because they're strongest with my beliefs, and I believe in self-education, purifying the body, and stuff like that. And they're the closest as I say religion that I can relate to. But with that being said, there's words. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay, go.
See what I gotta deal with? Anywho, okay, this is my rebuttal to some of the things that Paul brought up, and this is directed towards everyone. I apply these principles to my everyday life and to everyone, including my children, my mother, everyone that I have a relationship with, interact with on a daily, including co-workers and so on. The first one I want to do is sustain life. Paul has a habit of saying he is homeless. And on a previous video of his, he's manifesting words and stuff like that. Well, I have said to him since I've known him, stop saying that you're homeless, because if that's the case, everybody's homeless. Everybody who does not own their property, their land, and their home, does not own it, I didn't say rent, own it, is considered homeless. And at any given time, we could just be out in the elements, such as himself. And so, I'm trying to change his way of thinking, regardless whether he's in that element or not. I just want him to think more positive. That's all. That's the energy I need him to project for himself and also people that interact with him. That's about that part for that. And my thing, the way I was raised and stuff that happened to me as a child, I don't relate it. No, how can I say? I don't allow it to affect my everyday living, even then. Because I emancipated from my parents at age 14. I was considered my own adult. I did not know or have a clue what I was doing, but I knew to sustain everyday life, I needed to do certain things. I needed to work, I needed to have income, I needed to provide a home for my children and myself. And I did that with all means possible. I have never prostituted or sold myself or anything like that. I worked there since I was 14, 2 and 3 jobs. And with that being said, I've sacrificed some things as far as seeing my kids do sports and stuff like that. I've even had my daughter, say stuff about, oh, wish my mom didn't have to work 2 jobs so she could do this and that. So then I joined the PTA. That was hilarious. Anywho, with that, at a young age, having to be an adult at such a young age, I did lose out on some things. So now I take full advantage of my life. I try to experience everything I can with my kids and my grandkids, and with that all being said, and also everybody that I interact with. So I do not let what had happened to me, because I've had some really horrible things happen to me as a child, as a teenager, and as a young adult, because I was so naive. Because with my mother being this Catholic Christian, her thing was to guard us from everything out inside of into life. With my dad, anyway, he wanted me to experience life at a not experience life, but know, because he knew I was, once I left at 14, I was out there on my own into this world of craziness that my mother shunned me from. Her thing was, don't do it because I said so, not telling me the dangers of it doing so. My dad took a different approach. I'm going to show you the effects of it, of you doing this and what can happen. So that helped me a lot more, because I deal with better show me and tell me. Show me better than you can tell me, because you tell me no, it's like giving me a key and I'm going to do it anyways. Weird, but that's how I'm wired. But I rose above a lot of the things that happened to me. I don't let them affect me today. And like I say, Paul brings up a lot of things that happened in his household when he was as a kid and a teenager. And by me, I guess, not being at home as a teenager, maybe I cannot relate to those things where he says, because my mom used to. Well, I'm 40, he's 35.
34.
30 what?
4.
Okay, he's 34. In the way I'm wired, as he says, I feel that those things shouldn't affect him today because he has become his own person. He's become his own man, and I don't think they should. I know they'll help him evolve to what he's doing, but I think he should use them as a stepping stone, not as a crutch. And once again, that's my opinion. Also, as far as me not acknowledging his situation. I don't have to, I can acknowledge it. I know he's homeless and I still choose to interact and have a relationship with this gentleman. But I do not have to accept that because like I said, I will need him to be out of that state. Not physically in the sense, but mentally get there first. Because, you know, you can't, like, oh, okay, somebody just put you in a car, you're going to drive the car. You got to have the mindset of, okay, I'm going to try to learn how to drive this car. Same thing with riding a bike, skating, eating, the whole nine. You got to have the mental, put yourself in the mind state of it first before you can achieve anything. Let's see. And as far as me helping them, I feel I have went over and beyond to help Paul the best way that I know how. I was once homeless, and nobody knew I was homeless. I once was did meth, did much staying on the internet. Nobody knew I did that because I didn't conduct myself like a homeless meth head person who does that. I had no reason to because I was still functioning as a regular person because that's what I was achieving to be, was out of that situation, and I did everything I could as far as pretending or whatever you want to call it, faking the fun, not to let people know what was going on with me. Now, unless I chose to let you know that. And the only reason why I do share stuff like that is to help other people that I see are struggling, and they look at me, oh, Nessa, you don't know. Yes, I do. You just didn't know I was going through it because it wasn't for you to know. You know what I'm saying? I had the whole persona as a functioning, everyday person living in the world, taking care of my business, my children, and still having things that are the world, the odds against me, all the evils. He brought up the thing about Tiffany. I'm not going to discuss her. I will not. Okay. I am going to say something about allowing people to use you, because he said it. I'm butting off people who said in the video. He said that she called and asked that she use him. She used the words she wanted to use. It was used. U-S-E. She wants to use you. Not that she needed your help.
Right.
She needed to use you to do something. And with that being said, you only get once to use me, to ill will me, to bring your bad ethos to me, and then after that, I cut you off. I'm done with you. Like the circle. Your head's gone and you're just by the wayside. So that's enough of that situation. Because I'm done talking about that. And let's see. Okay, and about my friend that Adam, who me and Paul were at the mall, and he's a handicapped. He's not homeless. He's handicapped. He is still a normal person, normal functioning. He's high functioning disabled person. He was in a really bad wreck, and he came from being crippled, hospital, not speaking, not knowing, to a coma to what he is now. He's crippled on one side. My thing is, people who are disabled, I kind of go above and beyond, because I've had two situations where that could have been me. It bothered me more so that Paul, he does space out. And I don't know if this was a space out moment, but it was more intentional, because I was to the side of Paul, but when he did it, I became behind Paul, and I saw how he interacted with Adam. And it bothered me more so because he went out to me. Paul went out of his way not to interact with this person. And then when I asked him about it, even though it was a couple days later, because I saw Adam again at the store, and Adam is still pleasant, and he's still his normal self, and we interacted the same we did. When I saw Paul, it made me remember, hey, why did you do that? And so his excuse that he gave to me was because of where he grew up. And I understand that. Because I went to Chicago for 6 months, and it was horrible. I got mugged, assaulted, and the door kicked in within 2 weeks' time. The police could not find this person when but I'm over that. So I can understand where you just wouldn't go in your pocket and start pulling stuff out because somebody might try and mug you or something like that. But his rebuttal on his taping was saying that he's in a situation. But that also goes back to my spirituality, which I understand he does not. But you always, I don't help people just to get stuff back. Not in the physical sense. It's for my soul. It's for me. I feel good doing that, knowing if I was to get killed, die, or whatever tomorrow, I've helped a lot of people along my way, and they can say that. If I have on one shoe, you can. And most of my mother, that's she said, that's one of her pet peeves for me. Vanessa have on one shoe, she'll try and give you that one shoe. But that's just my nature. And so if I see a need and I can fix it, or I can help with that need, or aid and assist, that is what I try to do. And more so to disable than a homeless person, because some homeless people choose to be homeless. I do have friends that choose to be homeless. They choose not to pay somebody rent. They choose to have their whole check in their pocket and go from Peter, Paul to Mary Jo couches or wherever, food banks, whatever. But you would never know it, not unless you befriended them or just had a conversation with them. There are a lot of people who choose to be homeless. Paul is not one of them, and I see that in him. I see the potential that he has, and I try and encourage that in him every day. Whether he calls it nagging or whatever, because no way in shape, form, or heaven do I want to be anything like anybody's mother. Because I love my mama to death. No. But no. So that was not my intent to belittle or to make him feel like he was being mothered. And to me, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, because we're dating. And he said, don't act like somebody's mother. That just kind of was gross to me in the whole sense. I'm like, man, I don't want to do that. So I have changed since the first time we met about how I interact with him and as far as giving him certain information. But on that sense too, I didn't tell you guys. The other day, I sent him a text message in full detail. Am I lying, Paul?
No, you're not.
This is after everything happened, and he read it later on that night. Keyword. I'm going to give you all the information.
I haven't.
But with that being said, I sent him a text message in full detail what a favor I needed him to do, because we work different opposite hours. I work at night, he works at days. Sometimes when he's off, so he has more free time than I do at times. So I asked him to go have a drag. I asked him to go to a specific pet store, one of the two. I didn't know which one was closest to him, because I didn't want to go out his way. I asked him to get a specific size and amount of vittles, worms, for my dragon. Well, he did so, but I hadn't known until I got home late on that night that he got one of the containers and the small ones. And I also asked him to change the water, because when you feed him, you must change the water at the same time. Well, my mother interjected, as she always does at her house. Anywho, and I appreciated him going to get the worms he did, but then at the same sense, they only put them half in there, because I assumed they were the large ones. I wanted them to put the whole container in there, because he got a second container, I thought. Well, he didn't. So when I got there, at first I wasn't upset until I realized, I was like, did you read my text message? And he did. And so he started to read it then. And I was like, I gave you specific instructions for a specific reason. Like, I gave you all the information this time, and it didn't compute. And I do understand that he's overly tired and exhausted, and that does mess with your ethers and your mind, because when I'm tired, I turn into a grizzly bear, and he'll tell you, not nice. When I'm tired and hungry, I can admit that, and that's another thing. I know all my faults, so I do know this. But it irritated me so to where I don't usually go to bed upset, but I did that. I was upset. And then the next morning, we continue on to this conversation. Now my mother's there, and I told my mother, and I let her know I wasn't pleased with you changing what I had told him. And I don't understand they shouldn't have had that conversation, because you can't be in somebody's presence and just ignore them. But once my mother went upstairs, I feel that he should have did and changed the water and blah blah blah, whatever, all that stuff. There was no going back getting the worms, because he was tired of letting something back out in the elements with the worms. I could have get them myself. But so he made a comment about, no, what you want is a slave, as he walked away from me, and that was the end of the conversation, because I did not want to have this conversation from my mother. I don't argue with my mother. And when he was saying that, I let it go. But when he left, I looked at my mom and I was like, Mom, I can't even say that statement is true, because from my grandma and my grandfather, they used to pick cotton, and they were considered slaves, but they were, they knew if they did not pick that amount of cotton, pick it the right way, if there was blood on the cotton, urine, whatever the heck they did out there in the cotton fields, they were not going to get their pay to have them food to sustain life. So with that being said, Paul, my sweetheart, no, I don't want a slave, because a slave would have done it right also, because they know there's consequences. So we're done with that.
Well,
let's see. That's the one. Oh, okay, now, and also, Paul, you made a comment about this, and I'm speaking from my experience with me being homeless. You can get perishable food, like the chicken, the meat, and stuff like that, because you do have access to a freezer and also a refrigerator. But you also have access to a microwave. But before then, I would have to prepare meals for me and my children and whatever partner I had at that time in the microwave. They would have no clue not until they came in the kitchen. Was like, what are you doing? I'm cooking. In the microwave? Yeah, that's the only way that I knew how to cook. And I mean, there's thousands of microwave recipe books. But with that being said, I'm not saying that you are making excuses, but there's other ways you can get around doing stuff. I know you can't have a hot plate at the office when you work on fire, but there is a microwave accessible. There are microwave dishes that you can make, and you are able to buy those food. It's just that I don't succumb to my ailments. I overcome, and I don't. Well, I guess that is considered adapting, but I'll make do with what I have, with best what I have. And like I say, so that one you can tolerate those kind of foods. You just choose not to. And then once again, like,
why do I choose not to though?
You can't talk to my video, can you? I'm gonna edit that out. You're being rude. So like I said, I feel I help Paul the best way I know how, and I bring stuff to him hoping that he'll decide. So because certain things, when I try to enforce things on him, we end up at odds. And it's not, where it's cussing or screaming at him. We don't have that type of relationship. We just disagree. But I know he resists more when I try to let him see my angle of it. So I don't. I just try to suggest stuff to him, like, and then let him, his little wheels in his head, take on and do that. It doesn't work that way sometimes. So it ends up with like, well, no, I'm doing it my way. And I understand that because I've been doing my way for me, and it works for me. So I understand it. So we're just like, he's the male version of me, except for he's like hella like intellectually, and it's okay because I'm gonna steal some of that from him. And then he also brought up a thing that my mother asked him why he eats like the way he does. My mother's nosy is all dickens. She's picky, and they had to let him know that before she answered that question. My mother's asking to get to a certain answer. She's just waiting for you to spill the beans because I don't tell her anything. She does not know Paul is homeless. I don't feel it's none of her business. I don't want her to change their interactions. They have a very excellent relationship and rapport right now, and that's unusual for my mother because she does not approve of no one, anyone that I've ever brought to her house. She always had something to say, not to put them down, but like, well, what are you doing? What's their intent with her daughter, basically? Because I'm at a good space now and place where I got some stuff, in line that she doesn't want any distractions. Basically, what it is. And also, I haven't brought the most pleasant people to her house. Once I leave, they end up having some kind of bad interaction with my mother. And I'm not gonna have that anymore. So, but with that being said, about the eating thing. Where we were raised, I come from a pretty much big family. I have a father and I have a dad. My father's side of the family, we always do family function things, even though I don't celebrate pagan holidays. I participate because I love my family and I love the family. We have good memories and stuff together, all that stuff. My mother's side is the same way my grandma was. That side of the family is a party family. They like to get drunk. We don't get loud, like obnoxious, but they get drunk, they gamble. They do all that type of stuff. It's still family interaction, but it's different. It's two different things. One's by y'all, the other one's like, let's go to the club, and stuff like that. But it's all still family. And so I'm used to having, like, when people come over, or any guests that we've ever had to any of our houses, homes, mine included, we always make sure there's enough food just in case that we have company, just in case there's extra people, because people do, once you find out there's food involved, certain people with their ethnicities just show up uninvited because they want a free meal, and that's usually sometimes how it works. So we weren't programmed, or we were not forced to eat small portions. The only thing my mother and my grandmother and everybody on both sides of my family was, don't get up from the table if you're still hungry. Just eat. Don't board yourself. Eat until you're content, to where you're, okay, I'm good to the next meal, or I'm good until I get where I'm going, or to whatever the case is. So, like I said, it all has to do with the dynamics of my family and his family. And even with my kids, I even actually almost made my youngest son almost obese because I did not keep food from him. And some of it was not the best food, and that goes on to the snacks. You are what you eat, and I believe this. Because I was 300 pounds eating. Can't tell, I'm a third of what I was. But I was 300 pounds even after I had my youngest son, because I love food, and that's bad. I still love food. It's still bad, but I don't eat as much. I don't eat as much sugar. I don't eat as much junk. But I know when I started eating differently, my brain started functioning differently. I had more energy. I go to bed. Sometimes I get off at 2. I'm gonna make it home to maybe 4 or 5. But I get up about 9 or 10. Or as soon as somebody calls me, that's I'm doing this every day, constantly. And I've worked 2 and 3 jobs at the same time. I slept in between them, going to others. But I eat foods that give me energy, that help me with my brain, help me restore muscle. I drink a lot of water, and I just don't eat junk food. I have licorice. My 2 things are chocolate, bread, and licorice. Everybody knows chocolate, bread, and licorice. So those are 3 things I said if I had to give up, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I like licorice. I love bread and chocolate. So that's my thing with eating habits. Then too, with us having, put that out there. I wish I hadn't. Us having soul ties. Whatever he eats, it's injected into me. I'm doing this for this case. There's a minor watching this. So I'm trying to be nice and just not like, okay, his body's chemistry and my body's chemistry right this moment, far as juices, they don't mix. So I'm trying to help him help me. So that's another thing why I get on about eating junk food, because I need him to start eating certain things to change my body chemistry or change his to mine or however it is. It'll help in the end. And you shake your head, but you want to rock this up.
I'm not allowed to speak, so.
Anyway, so that's the only thing I do about junk food. And then too, like some of the food he eats, everybody knows sugar gives you a temporary high of, ooh, I got some energy. That's what sugar does for him. But you crash even harder. And with Paul, I am seeing that, and it has to do with his, like he said, his sleep, his environment, and what he eats. And it is taking a toll because he has a lot of, I call them blonde moments. And what attracted me most about Paul was his intellect. For real, before we even got his anything, I'm like, oh my God, he's cool. I let him talk to me, and we can actually have a conversation. He's not opening over my body, not sitting there thinking what the heck I can do for him next. Everything I've done for him, I've offered. He has not asked, he's offered. And I've offered, I said that. But so that's all as far as the eating thing. I just want him to eat healthier, because down the line, the food that he eats is going to take a toll on his body, his mental state down the line in the future. And it's starting to happen now, but just imagine how it's going to be even down the line, even worse. And like this, if this is somebody who I want to keep a rapport with, have a relationship with, and be with down the future, I need to get him in tune with his body and stuff right now, and start now, not when it happens. Not when, they say you got gout, you got diabetes, stuff like that. He is physically fit, but what he's feeding his body is not feeding his everything else that needs to be sustained for down the road. But let's see what else. Okay, and then Paul, you brought up, I don't know if I'm calling Paul, Cameron, whoever. Anyway, Paul brought up something like this just goes back to like I helped Paul the best I can about the dollar store situation. Maybe I did come off for kind of chastising, because everybody says that it's my delivery of how I say things, but I don't want any misconcept of what I'm saying. I'm trying to be directed to a point when I give somebody instructions to do something, and then, like I said, me and Paul talk about so much stuff, and as you see, I talk very fast. I want to make sure he remembered, because I showed him a couple of stores, like here, we need to go here, or here, we need to go here, or here, go there. So I just want to make sure he knew where he was going, due to the text messages that I sent him. That's why I reiterate. And because I've even got him one pair of shoes. He chooses not to wear them. I know he said he don't want to work, but one thing I have noticed with Paul, and it's okay because I do the same thing. If it's not exactly what I want, I don't want it, and that's okay. And that's another thing I like about him. He has his own mind, and we just have to come to where we can mesh that together. And with that being said, Mr. Primerson, what help can I do exactly to help you?
You have $1 million? No, everything you're doing is if you want.